All right, behind, basically we are at the departures location. So what I'm going to briefly do is just give a rough outline on how the flow and the processes will be for the departing passengers. Again, given the devastation and the damages to the terminal, we had to make some makeshift departure and arrival hall. What we are doing is utilizing the facilities that we have for that aspect. Behind us we have a number of tents. That is where the passengers would actually proceed once they're traveling. So only ticketed passengers would be allowed in this area. Proceed under the tent to the check-in area. What we would have is a passenger that would make their way from the gate under the tent, then proceed to the check-in area. As you can see, we have about 8 counters for check-in, which allows the passengers to check in and basically check their check bags and weigh their bags and do all the processes necessary for the flight. Once they have completed, they'll proceed to immigration. From immigration, they will go into security and then into a makeshift hall that we have created for the comfort of passengers while they wait the boarding of their flight. So we have basically, like I said, these are the check-in counters. Once the passenger is completed checking in here, they would proceed in this direction to the immigration checkpoint, where the immigration would be basically processing outgoing passengers from this end and verifying the documents and everything that needs to be done during that process. Once it's completed, then the passenger would move into our security screening area. So the same processes that happens in the building happens in this regard. So passenger would place his or her personal belongings, carry-ons on here. It will be screened, and then the passenger himself would go through this walk-through device. Once completed, they will then proceed into the waiting area for the boarding of their flight. Now we have basically a small area that has all the necessary amenities. We have the restrooms, we have concession stands that will also be in this area that can serve food and beverage for the passengers while they wait their flight. So we're trying to make the comfort of the passengers as close as possible to what they always experience in the terminal building. What you're taking now is pictures of basically the ramp, the parking area for the aircrafts. As you can see, the extensive damage to the jet bridges, basically where all of the cabs fell off of the bridges. So that is just some of the visible damage that remains from the hurricane. So we are going to proceed down to the arrival area where I'll give a further explanation on how that process will work from that end. So let me bring you in front. So basically, as you can see, the operation itself will not, or none of the processes will take part in the terminal building itself. However, we have in our recovery strategy plan devised different phases in when and how we're going to move back into the terminal building. But this first phase is basically operating outside of the terminal building itself. So we are now basically in the front area of the arrival hall, the makeshift hall, where these flaps from the tents will actually be open, which would allow the passengers to flow inside into queues as they make their way into the immigration area, customs area, and also for baggage claim. Yep. So again, you can see the queues that are here. Queues are actually to queue the passengers as they make their way to the immigration area. We would try, or we're in coordination with immigration to have the necessary lines. That's for your Dutch and residence line and your international line, that those comforts still remain for passengers and citizens as they come back home. Okay, what we have here is our fixed base operation facility. This facility would be used for the arrival and the processing of passengers in this area. What and how we devise it in coordination with immigration is to basically have a makeshift window created here where the immigration officer will be processing people from behind there. Once the passenger is cleared into the country, he or she would come in this area, collects their bags, and then from there proceed out to meet their loved ones or even any form of ground transportation that will be readily available for them. Once the passenger has collected his or her baggage, they would then proceed through this door, which would bring them on the land side, so the road side. And there will be a shuttle that the airport is going to provide to shuttle people from this location to the car park, where at that location in front of the terminal, the passengers or the residents would be able to go to their cars if they are parked in the car park, or even take car rentals or even taxis at that end. So that is basically in front of this building. No one would be allowed to actually come and pick up. We would have strict security control in this area to ensure that the flow of the traffic both in front of the building and also on the public road maintains that openness. Again, that's why we are providing that shuttle to ensure that all of the traffic stays in a separate location.